Next, we're going to learn about the area of circles. The area formula for circles is pi r squared. The circumference formula was 2 pi r as a quick reference, or pi d. You can use either one. So area is the amount inside of our circle. You can relate it to polygons. You can think about it as rectangles where the area is length times width. A tip to remember our formulas, you can use this little saying: cherry pie is delicious, apple pies are too. So cherry, C, pies, pi, delicious, D. Apple, A, pies, pi, R, 2 squared. So let's look at some examples. If we're given the radius and we're asked to find the area rounded to the tenths and use pi on the calculator, all we're going to do is plug in r equals 14 into our formula, area equals pi r squared. Now, we're squaring the radius. So the radius is 14 inches. So we're squaring 14 inches. So our inches will become squared in this case. So we're going to plug in 14 squared. So we're going to type in pi 14 squared in our calculator, and rounded to the nearest tenths, we get 615.7 inches squared. In the next example, we're given the diameter instead of the radius. So there's only one formula for area, unlike with circumference. So if we're given the diameter, we're going to have to change that to radius by dividing it in half. So half of diameter is going to be 1.8 inches. So we're going to substitute 1.8 inches in the place of r in our formula, area equals pi r squared. Again, the inches will be squared because the radius is 1.8 inches. So when we put that in our calculator, we get 10.2 inches squared. In this example, we're given the area and we're asked to find the radius. So we're going to work with our formula, area equals pi r squared. We're going to substitute 314 in the place of area this time. And now we're looking for the radius. So this is a little bit trickier. We're going to divide both sides by pi so that we can get radius by itself, since that is what we're solving for. When we get the radius by itself, if we round, we get approximately 100, which is nice because whenever we are working with some variable squared, we are going to have to take the square root of both sides in order to solve for it. So we really want a perfect square. So I'm going to go ahead and round that to 100 to make this a very easy number to work with, since it's really close to 100. I'm going to take the square root of both sides to get the r by itself. Because remember, r squared means r times r, so it's not by itself right now. And the inverse operation of squaring is square rooting. So I end up with radius equals 10, and we know that's inches because radius is just a line segment. So the radius is approximately 10 inches. In this example, I'm given either the radius, the diameter, the circumference, or the area, and I'm asked to find the other three. And if the answer can be found in terms of pi, we will. So what that means is if the answer is multiplied by pi, we're going to just leave the pi there instead of multiplying it out. So in this case, we're told that the radius is 9. Well, we know if the radius is 9, the diameter has to be twice as big, so that means it's going to be 18. Now, circumference is diameter times pi. So if we leave that in terms of pi, we can just write 18 pi. And we know that area is pi r squared. So if we square the radius, that's 9 times 9, or 81, times pi. So it's pi r squared. 9 squared is 81. And we always write the number first and the pi second. So we're just going to change the order there and write it 81 pi. In this next example, we're going to do the same thing. We're given radius of 7. The diameter has to be twice that big, so it's 14. The circumference is going to be diameter times pi, so it's 14 pi. The area is pi r squared, so it's going to be the radius squared, which is 7 times 7, which is 14, so it's 14 pi. Oh, excuse me, 49 pi. Now in this case, we're given the circumference is 8 pi. Well, if the circumference is 8 pi, we know the diameter has to be 8 because circumference is pi times diameter. So the answer has to be 8, which means the radius is half of the diameter. So the radius has to be 4. And the area is pi r squared. Well, the radius is 4. If you square that, you get 16. So that's going to be 16 times pi. In our next example, we're given that the area is 25 pi. Well, if the area is 25 pi, we know that the radius is the square root of 25 because we square the radius to get this number. So the radius has to be 5. If the radius is 5, the diameter is twice that, so it's 10. And we know that circumference is pi d, so that means it's 10 times d, which is, or 10 times pi, which is 10 pi.